It started as a quiet drive home after basketball practice. A mother, her young son, and an empty highway. But flashing lights turned that calm ride into chaos when a racist cop decided this family was guilty before even asking a question. What followed left a child in handcuffs, a mother bleeding, and 2 officers convinced they had silenced the truth. But they didn't know who she called, or what he was trained to do. Before we dive in, get comfortable, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss stories like this. On a lonely stretch of Georgia highway, a black woman in a silver SUV glances at the rearview mirror as red and blue lights flash behind her. Her son, tucked in the back seat, is lost in his handheld game, the faint glow lighting up his face. She pulls over, calm but cautious, expecting a routine stop. But the officers don't approach with clipboards. They come with hard eyes and harder hands. Questions turn into accusations, commands into violence, and in moments she's on the ground, blood on her face, her son crying out as he's pulled from the car. They think they've won, think they've set the story straight. But they don't know who she called. They don't know the man racing toward them. A Marine trained to protect what's his and never back down. And when he gets there, nothing will be the same. Before we go any further, drop a comment with where you're watching from. And hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow's story is one you won't want to miss. The highway was quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you double-check your mirrors even when the road's empty. Trees lined both sides, their shadows stretching long and dark under the faint moonlight. Janice Harper kept one hand on the wheel, the other resting lightly on her thigh, her posture relaxed but alert. The radio played soft R and B, just loud enough to fill the silence without waking Malcolm. The dashboard clock glowed 8:47 p.m. She'd promised Malcolm's basketball coach she'd have him home early after practice. A quick pickup, a short chat, and back on the road. 20 minutes tops. She wanted Malcolm showered and in bed by 9:30. In the back seat, Malcolm slouched against the window, his thumbs tapping the screen of his Nintendo Switch, the game's faint beeps mixing with the hum of the tires. He was playing something with superheroes, his favorite, and every now and then he'd let out a small, "Yes!" when he cleared a level. Janice caught his reflection in the mirror and smiled. It reminded her of the songs Marcus used to blast during weekend barbecues, the kind that got Malcolm dancing before he could even talk. Then headlights flared behind her. Too close, too fast. Janice squinted into the rear view. A police cruiser, low and wide, hugged her bumper like it was glued there. No siren, no lights, just pressure. She signaled, eased into the right lane, and slowed to 45 miles per hour, well under the limit. The cruiser followed, matching her speed, its grille looming in her mirror. For a full minute it stayed there, silent, until the red and blue lights finally snapped on. Janice exhaled, her grip tightening slightly on the wheel. She pulled onto the gravel shoulder, the tires crunching as she stopped under a cluster of overhanging pines. She shifted to park, flicked on the hazard lights, and waited. Malcolm didn't look up, too focused on his game. She didn't say anything yet. No need to scare him. 2 doors slammed. Footsteps crunched on gravel, slow and heavy. Janice lowered her window halfway, both hands visible on the wheel, just like she'd practiced in her mind 100 times. In the side mirror, she saw them. 2 officers, white, maybe mid-30s, both tall, their postures stiff like they'd been trained to never look at ease. The one approaching her door stopped just outside her window. His badge glinted under the cruiser's headlights. The other officer circled to the passenger side, staying back, his silhouette half hidden in the dark. She didn't like that. "Evening, ma'am," the first officer said, his voice flat like he was reading from a script. "Mind telling me where you're headed tonight?" Janice nodded, keeping her tone even. "Home. Just picked up my son from basketball practice. We're about 10 miles from our exit." He didn't nod back. "Name?" "Janice Harper." "This your vehicle, Miss Harper?" "Yes, sir. Want my license and registration?" "That'd be great." She moved slowly, reaching for her purse on the passenger seat, her fingers steady as she pulled out her wallet. She opened the glove box, grabbed the registration and insurance card, and handed them over. The officer, Kessler, she saw from his badge, took the papers but didn't glance at them. Instead, he stared at her, his eyes lingering too long, like he was sizing her up. Then he turned and walked back to the cruiser without a word. The second officer, Holt, stayed put, his gaze shifting to the back seat. Janice saw him lean closer, peering inside. Malcolm was still playing, oblivious, a small smile flickering as he dodged an attack on screen. Holt tapped the rear window, sharp enough to make Malcolm jump. His game clattered onto the seat. Janice spoke quickly, her voice firm. "Sir, my son's 10. He's not part of this." Holt didn't answer, just kept staring. Malcolm's eyes widened, darting between the officer and his mom. Janice turned slightly, resting a hand on his knee. "It's okay, baby. Keep playing. Stay calm." Kessler returned, her documents dangling loosely in his hand. "Registration checks out," he said, but his tone hadn't softened. "We got a call tonight about a vehicle like this one. Silver SUV, similar plates, linked to a theft a few towns over. You know anything about that?" Janice didn't flinch. "This is my car. Bought it 2 years ago, financed in my name. You've got the paperwork." "I saw what you gave me," Kessler said, an edge creeping into his voice. "Step out of the vehicle, ma'am." "For what reason?" "Routine check." "I haven't done anything wrong. You said my papers are fine." "Ma'am, I'm not asking again." The air shifted, like a door slamming shut. Janice felt it. The weight of his words, the way his hand twitched toward his belt. Out here, with no other cars, no lights but theirs, she knew what this was. Not a stop, a choice. She opened the door slowly, stepping onto the gravel, hands still visible. Kessler stood too close, his eyes cold, scanning her like she was a problem he'd already decided to solve. Holt stayed near Malcolm's door, watching. "You said you were at basketball practice?" Kessler asked. "Yes, my son's practice. We left 15 minutes ago." "Whose practice?" "My son, Malcolm. His coach's name is Brian Tate." "Got a last name for this Brian?" "I've answered your questions. My papers are in order. I'm heading home." Kessler's lip curled. Not a smile, just a flicker. People who steal cars always have a story. "I didn't steal anything," Janice said, her voice steady. "You've got no reason to search my car." "Pop the trunk," Kessler said. "No, not without a warrant." His eyes narrowed. "You're making this hard, Miss Harper." "I'm within my rights." Kessler stepped closer, forcing her to lean back. "Out here, it's about safety. Yours. Your kids. Open the trunk." "My son's in there. He's scared. Let us go." "Unlock the door," Kessler snapped, louder now, nodding toward Malcolm's window. Holt moved, yanking the handle. It was locked. "No," Janice said, stepping forward. "He's 10. Leave him alone." Kessler's hand shot to his flashlight, heavy and metal. He slammed it against Malcolm's window, not breaking it, but loud enough to make the boy scream. "Open it!" "Stop!" Janice shouted, lunging toward the car. Holt grabbed her arm, twisting her back. She stumbled, her knee hitting the gravel hard. Kessler yanked Malcolm's door open. The boy shrank back, clutching his game, his breaths coming fast, too fast. Kessler grabbed his arm, pulling him out. "Out, now!" "He's a child!" Janice cried, struggling against Holt's grip. Blood trickled from her scraped knee, warm against her skin. Malcolm's game fell, the screen cracking on the pavement. His chest heaved, his eyes wild, like he couldn't find air. "He's in a stolen vehicle," Kessler said, cold. "That makes him part of it." Malcolm gasped. "I didn't do anything!" His voice broke, small and desperate. Kessler cuffed his wrists, the metal biting into his skin. The boy's legs buckled, his breathing ragged, his face pale. Janice shoved against Holt, her voice raw. "He's panicking! Let him go!" Holt pushed her down, her cheek hitting the gravel. Pain flared, blood swelling under her eye where a rock had cut her. Malcolm's cries grew quieter, not calmer, emptier. Janice fumbled for her phone, half buried in the dirt. Her fingers shook, dialing Marcus. It rang once. "Janice?" His voice was steady, urgent. "They've got Malcolm," she whispered. "He can't breathe, hurry." Holt's boot crushed the phone, the screen going black. Kessler smirked, dragging Malcolm toward the cruiser. "Should have cooperated, Miss Harper." Janice's heart pounded, but her eyes stayed on her son, curled on the ground, his small hands bound, his world unraveling. She didn't know how long it would take Marcus to get there. She just knew he would. The gravel still stung Janice's palms as she crouched in the passenger seat, her cheek throbbing where the cut had started to swell. Malcolm was curled in the back, his knees pulled tight to his chest, his broken Nintendo Switch forgotten on the floor. The SUV's engine hummed low, Marcus at the wheel, his eyes locked on the dark road ahead. They'd left the flashing cruiser behind, Kessler and Holt sprawled on the ground, dazed but alive. Marcus hadn't said much since he'd stormed in, his fists and training turning the tide in seconds. But Janice could feel the weight of what came next. The police wouldn't let this go. They'd twist it, make her family the villains. She glanced at Marcus, his jaw tight, and knew he was already thinking 3 steps ahead. They weren't just running, they were fighting for the truth. And the man beside her, the Marine who'd never left a soul behind, was ready to tear down anything in their way. Marcus took a sharp turn off the highway, cutting onto a narrow dirt road flanked by pines. The headlights bounced across the uneven path, illuminating nothing but trees and shadows. "We're going to Calvin's old warehouse," he said, his voice steady but low. Civil, a friend from his Marine days, had a spot nobody checked on, a run-down storage shed off the grid. "We'll lay low there, figure out our next move." Janice nodded, her fingers brushing Malcolm's hair as he shivered under a blanket. "Shatter." "They'll say we attacked them," she said quietly. "By morning, we'll be the ones on the news." "Not if we get ahead of it," Marcus said. "They've got dashcam footage. It's our only shot." The warehouse appeared around a bend, a sagging metal building half covered in kudzu, its windows boarded up. Marcus parked behind it, out of sight, and helped Janice and Malcolm inside. The air smelled of rust and old oil, but it was dry, quiet, and safe for now. He set Malcolm on a dusty cot, wrapping him in another blanket. The boy's eyes were heavy, his breathing steadier but distant, like he was still back on that highway. Janice kissed his forehead, whispering, "You're okay, baby. We're here." Marcus pulled out his phone, texting Calvin for updates. The reply came fast. "Cops are spinning it. News says you assaulted officers during a stop. Warrants out." Janice read over his shoulder, her stomach twisting. "They're lying," she whispered. "They'll bury us." "Not yet," Marcus said, his voice like steel. He opened a laptop, plugging it into a portable battery. "Calvin's got a contact at the precinct. Says the cruiser's dashcam backs up to a server at the district lot. If we can get that footage, we have got proof." Janice's eyes widened. "You're not breaking into a police station." "Not the station. The overflow lot. It's barely guarded, and I know the setup from a job I did last year. We grab the drive. We control the story." She stared at him, her heart racing. It was dangerous, but sitting still meant letting Kessler and Holt's lies win. "I'm coming with you," she said. "Malcolm stays with Calvin. We do this together." Marcus hesitated, then nodded. "Calvin's on his way. He'll be here in an hour." They spent that hour planning. Marcus sketched the lot's layout on a scrap of paper. Fence lines, camera blind spots, where the server shed sat. Janice packed a small bag, gloves, a flashlight, a burner phone. Malcolm dozed off, clutching her sleeve even in sleep. When Calvin arrived, a wiry guy with a quick smile, he hugged Marcus and promised to keep Malcolm safe. "Kid's tough," Calvin said, ruffling Malcolm's hair. "Like his dad." Marcus and Janice left as the moon climbed higher, the warehouse fading in the rear view. The road felt heavier now, every passing car a potential threat. They weren't just fugitives. They were a family with everything to lose. But Janice held on to one truth. Marcus was coming for them, and he always would. The warehouse was a shadow in the early morning light, its metal walls creaking as the Georgia heat started to rise. Janice sat on the edge of the cot, her cheek still tender from the cut, her eyes fixed on Malcolm as he slept fitfully under Calvin's old blanket. Marcus stood near the door, his laptop open on a crate, scrolling through grainy security maps of the police overflow lot. The air was thick with dust and tension. They were fugitives now, their faces already on the morning news, branded as cop attackers. Calvin had left to keep watch a mile out, promising to text if anything moved. Janice's phone buzzed with a news alert. Fugitive couple wanted for assaulting Atlanta officers. Her stomach twisted. But Marcus didn't flinch. He was planning, always planning, his marine instincts mapping out their next step. They needed that dash cam footage, the one piece of truth that could flip the story, and they were going to take it, no matter what it cost. "We hit the lot tonight," Marcus said, his voice low, steady. "After shift change, when it's quiet, we get in, grab the drive, and get out. No noise, no trace." Janice nodded, her hands clasped tight. "What if it's not there? What if they've already wiped it?" "They won't have," Marcus said. "It's an old system. Takes days to overwrite. Kessler was too busy playing tough to think about the camera." She trusted him, but the weight of it all. Malcolm's quiet sobs last night, the blood still crusted on her blouse, made her chest ache. "Okay," she said, "but we need a plan for Malcolm. He can't be here alone." "Calvin's got a cousin nearby, Tara. She's solid, used to babysitting for him. She'll stay with Malcolm while we're gone." Janice glanced at her son, his small chest rising and falling, his broken switch tucked beside him like a shield. "He's scared, Marcus. Even when he's sleeping, he's scared." Marcus crossed the room, kneeling beside her. "We're getting him out of this. That footage is our way. It shows what they did. Kessler's fist, Holt's hands on him. The world sees that. They can't look away." She met his eyes, drawing strength from the fire in them. "Then let's do it." By dusk, Tara arrived, a warm woman in her 40s with a quick laugh that eased Malcolm's nerves. She brought a bag of snacks and a deck of cards, sitting with him to play Uno while Marcus and Janice prepped. Marcus packed a black duffel, gloves, a lockpick set, a small crowbar, and a burner phone. Janice added a USB drive and a folded map of the lot, her hands steady despite the pulse hammering in her throat. Calvin called, confirming the lot was clear. No extra patrols yet, but chatter on the police scanner said they were combing rural roads. Time was tight. They left at 10 p.m., the SUV's headlights off as Marcus navigated back roads to avoid checkpoints. The overflow lot was a mile from the main precinct, a chain-link sprawl of old cruisers and storage sheds tucked behind a strip mall. They parked in an alley, hidden by a dumpster, and moved on foot. The air was humid, crickets loud enough to mask their steps. Marcus led, his movements silent, precise, like he'd done this 100 times in another life. Janice followed, her heart pounding but her focus sharp. They reached the fence, its rusted lock no match for Marcus's pick. It clicked open, and they slipped inside. The lot was darker than they'd expected, lit only by a flickering sodium lamp. Rows of dusty patrol cars stretched out, their antennas casting long shadows. Marcus pointed to a shed in the far corner, its door secured with a padlock. "That's it," he whispered. "Servers inside. Stay low." They crouched, moving between cars, pausing when a distant headlight swept the road beyond the fence. Janice's knee ached from the gravel cuts, but she pushed through, her eyes scanning for cameras. Marcus had mapped the blind spots, and so far he was right. No lenses caught them. At the shed, he worked the lock, the crowbar prying it open with a soft snap. Inside, the air was stale, shelves lined with old monitors and tangled cables. A single server hummed in the corner, its green light blinking like a heartbeat. Marcus knelt, tracing wires to a row of hard drives. "Each cruiser's tagged by VIN," he muttered, checking a list on his phone. "Ours was a 2018 Dodge. Should be here." He pulled a drive, small and heavy, and slipped it into the duffel. Janice kept watch at the door, her flashlight catching glints of metal outside. A car engine rumbled nearby, then faded. "We good?" she whispered. "Yeah, let's move." They retraced their steps, slower now, the drive weighing heavier than it should. At the fence, Marcus held the gate for Janice, but a crunch of gravel stopped them cold. A flashlight beam cut across the lot, not close, but close enough. Marcus pulled her behind a cruiser, his hand on her arm. "Patrol," he breathed. "Wait." The beam swept past, lingering on the shed, then moved on. Footsteps faded. Marcus waited 10 seconds, then nodded. They slipped through the gate, back to the alley, and into the SUV. Janice's hands shook as she buckled in. The drive clutched tight. Marcus drove, taking a long loop to avoid main roads, until they were back at the warehouse by midnight. Tara greeted them, Malcolm asleep on the cot, a half-eaten bag of chips beside him. "He's okay," she said softly. "Asked for you once, but I told him you'd be back." Janice thanked her, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus set up the laptop, plugging in the drive. The screen flickered, revealing a folder with 2 video files, time-stamped 8:45 p.m. last night. He clicked the first. The cruiser's dashcam showed Kessler's face, smug as he approached Janice's window, Holt circling the SUV. It caught her calm voice, her hands on the wheel, then Kessler's fist, her fall, Malcolm's scream as Holt yanked him out. The second file showed the interior, Kessler's radio call claiming a resisting suspect. Lies, all of it. Janice's eyes burned, but she didn't cry. "We've got them," she said. Marcus nodded, already dialing. "Lena Carter," he said when the call picked up. "You still want a story that shakes things up?" Lena, a freelance journalist who'd covered police misconduct before, met them an hour later at a gas station 20 miles away. She watched the footage, her face hardening. "This'll blow the lid off," she said. "But you sure? Once it's out, there's no going back." "We're sure," Janice said. Lena uploaded the video to a secure server, routing it through an anonymous account on a platform nobody could trace. Janice typed the caption, "This is what happened. Don't let them lie." It went live at 3 a.m. By dawn, the video had 10,000 views. By noon, 1 million. Protests erupted in Atlanta, crowds gathering at City Hall, chanting Malcolm's name. News vans clogged downtown, but Calvin's next text was a warning. "Cops are sweeping rural spots. They know you're close." Janice looked at Marcus, the laptop still open, the truth now a wildfire they couldn't control. They'd struck back, but the fight was far from over. The warehouse felt smaller as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the cracked windows. Janice sat with Malcolm, his head resting against her shoulder, his eyes half open as he clutched a new deck of cards Tara had left behind. The protests in Atlanta were growing louder. News reports showed crowds outside the courthouse, holding signs with Janice's bruised face and Malcolm's name. The dashcam video had done its job, spreading like wildfire, but the warrants for their arrest hadn't budged. Marcus paced near the laptop, his burner phone buzzing with updates from Calvin. "Cops are closing in. They're checking rural roads, unmarked cars." The air was heavy, not just with heat, but with the sense that time was running out. They'd exposed the truth, But the system was fighting back, and Janice knew they couldn't hide forever. Marcus stopped pacing, his eyes meeting hers. "We need to end this," he said. "Not just for us, for Malcolm." He dialed a number, the call ringing twice before a woman's voice answered, calm but guarded. "Deputy Mayor Brooks, who's this?" "Marcus Harper," he said, his tone steady. "You've seen the video. You know what your officers did to my family. You're watching the city burn because of it. I'm offering a way out." Brooks paused, the silence heavy. "You're a wanted man, Mr. Harper. You don't get to make offers." "I'm not asking," Marcus said. "Drop the charges against me and Janice. Arrest Kessler and Holt. Announce an independent investigation, public, no backroom deals. Do it, and we'll call for calm. We'll tell the crowds to stop breaking windows and start watching you deliver justice." Another pause. "That's a big ask," Brooks said. "You're talking about throwing 2 officers under the bus." "They threw themselves there," Marcus said. "You've got a riot on your hands. We can help you stop it, but only if you do what's right." Brooks exhaled, her voice tightening. "If we talk, it's in person. No press, no tricks. You, your wife, me, the DA, and a city lawyer. Neutral ground. You agree to de-escalate, we'll consider your terms." "Where?" Marcus asked. "Community center on Peachtree, meeting room in the back. Closed for repairs, 1 door, no cameras. Tomorrow, 1 a.m., bring 1 witness, not a reporter. You want this to work, you show up." Marcus hung up, his jaw tight. Janice looked at him, her heart racing. "It's a trap," she said. "They could grab us the second we walk in." "Maybe," Marcus said. "But if we don't go, they'll say we're dodging. They'll spin it to make us the problem." She glanced at Malcolm, now dozing against her, his small hand still holding a card. "We need someone they can't ignore," she said. "Lena Carter. She's seen the footage, she knows the stakes. She'll keep them honest." Marcus nodded. "I'll call her." Lena agreed to meet them at a diner near the community center, her voice sharp with determination. "I'm not letting them bury this," she said. "I'll be there, and I'll make sure the world knows if they try anything." At 12:30 a.m., they left Malcolm with Tara, who promised to keep him safe. The drive to Peachtree was quiet, the city's curfew emptying the streets except for patrol cars in the distance. Janice's cheek still ached, but her focus was razor sharp. Marcus parked a block away, checking the burner phone for Lena's signal. She was already at the center, waiting by the back door. They walked through an alley, the air cool and thick with the smell of asphalt. Lena greeted them with a nod, her notepad tucked under her arm. "No cameras," she said. "But I'm taking notes. They won't like it, but they'll deal." Inside, the meeting room was stark. Fluorescent lights, a long table, and 3 people waiting. Brooks, a woman in her 50s with tired eyes. The DA, a man with a clipped voice, and a city lawyer, silent but watchful. No one stood. No one offered hands. Marcus and Janice sat, Lena beside them, her pen already moving. Brooks spoke first. "You've got the city in chaos, Mr. Harper. You say you want peace. Prove it." "We will," Marcus said. "Once you drop the charges, suspend Kessler and Holt, and announce the investigation publicly by noon tomorrow." The DA leaned forward. "And if we don't?" "You've got another video, I hear. You'll burn the city down?" Janice answered, her voice calm but firm. "We don't want fires. We want justice. You saw what they did to my son. You saw Kessler hit me. The country's watching. You can't hide it anymore." Brooks frowned. "We're risking a lot. The police union's already pushing back." "Then push harder," Marcus said. "Or the next video drops. It's got audio from your chief promising reform last year. It's got close-ups of my son's wrists, bruised from cuffs. You want to explain that to the crowds." The lawyer shifted, uncomfortable. Brooks stared at Marcus, then Janice, her expression unreadable. "You guarantee you'll call off the protests?" "We'll tell people to stand down," Janice said. "But they'll only listen if you act. No games." The DA scribbled something, then nodded. We can have a statement ready by morning. Charges dropped, officers arrested, investigation announced, but you go on camera, both of you, and say you trust the process. We'll say we trust the truth, Marcus said. That's enough. Lena's pen stopped. I'll make sure it's reported straight, she said, her voice cutting through the tension. No spin. Brooks stood, signaling the end. We've got a deal. Don't make me regret it. Marcus and Janice didn't move until the others left. Lena stayed, her eyes on them. You did good, she said, but stay sharp. They're not your friends. Outside, the night was still, the city holding its breath. Janice gripped Marcus's hand, her mind already on Malcolm, on the promise of a morning where he wouldn't have to hide. They'd forced the system to bend, not break, but it was a start. And for the first time in days, she felt something like hope. The morning sun crept through the blinds of Tara's small Atlanta apartment, soft and gray, like the city was still catching its breath. Janice stood by the window, a mug of coffee warming her hands, her bruised cheek less swollen but still tender. Marcus sat on the couch, the TV on low, showing a news anchor in a crisp suit. This morning, Atlanta officials confirmed all charges against Janice and Marcus Harper have been dropped, the anchor said. Officers James Kessler and Ryan Holt are in custody, facing charges of assault and falsifying reports after a viral video exposed their actions. Malcolm was at the kitchen table, a bowl of cereal untouched, his eyes glued to the screen. He hadn't spoken much since they'd left the warehouse, but his small hands were steady now, no longer trembling. The weight of the last few days lingered, but something had shifted. The truth was out, and it was holding. Janice and Marcus were escorted to the courthouse that afternoon, not as suspects, but as a family the city needed to see. They didn't dress up. Janice wore a denim jacket, Marcus his usual boots, Malcolm in sneakers and a hoodie. Outside, a crowd gathered, not angry but hopeful, holding signs that read, "Justice for Malcolm" and "No more lies." Inside, a guard led them to a processing room with a one-way mirror. On the other side, Kessler and Holt sat, cuffed, their heads down as officers filled out paperwork. Janice's breath caught. She hadn't expected to face them so soon. She stepped forward, pushing open the door before Marcus could stop her. The officers looked up, Kessler's eyes narrowing, Holt's gaze dropping to the floor. "You threw me down in front of my son," Janice said, her voice steady, cutting through the silence. "You cuffed a 10-year-old boy like he was a criminal. You thought you'd get away with it because of your badges." Kessler shifted but said nothing. "You looked at Malcolm and saw a threat. Now the world looks at you and sees the truth." Holt mumbled, "I didn't hit you." Janice's eyes flashed. "You didn't stop it either." Marcus appeared behind her, Malcolm at his side. The boy stared at the officers, his fists clenched. "You made me scared," Malcolm said, his voice small but clear. "But I'm not scared now." Kessler blinked, nothing more. Janice took Malcolm's hand, and they walked out, the door clicking shut behind them. Outside, the crowd cheered, a wave of relief washing over the steps. The city wasn't healed, but it was listening. Back home that evening, Janice tucked Malcolm into bed, his sketchbook open to a new drawing, a hero standing tall, shielding a smaller figure. Marcus joined her on the porch, the air cool, the neighborhood quiet. "They're talking about a reform panel," he said, calling it the Harper Initiative. Janice smiled faintly. "It's a start?" They sat in silence, the stars above steady, proof that some things could still hold firm. The porch light flickered as Janice and Marcus sat together, the night wrapping their Atlanta home in a gentle hush. Malcolm slept inside, his sketchbook open to a hero who looked a lot like his dad. The Harper Initiative was just a whisper in the news, but it carried their name, a reminder that their fight had sparked something bigger. Janice leaned against Marcus, her voice soft. "We showed them that the truth can't be buried," she said. He nodded, his hand finding hers. "And family holds stronger than fear." Their story taught that justice demands courage, that standing up, even when the odds seem stacked against you, can shift the world. It's a lesson for anyone facing unfairness. Speak out, hold tight to those you love, and trust that truth finds a way. For the young and the parents watching, let the Harpers remind you, your voice matters, and change starts when you refuse to stay silent. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button to catch more tales of resilience and hope. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And let's keep shining a light together.